Good morning, my name is Barbra Wylie, and I'm the Director of Piecemeal Senior Nutrition Program. My sponsor is Sarah Bush Lincoln. I actually work for Sarah Bush Lincoln Health Center, and I'll explain in a minute a little bit more about how that came to be and why that is. To give you a little bit of information about my journey and how I wound up working in senior nutrition. I'm an Eastern graduate. I have an undergraduate in FCS Family Services. Always had an interest in working with seniors, and kind of knew that that was the direction that I wanted to take. Went ahead and did an MA in gerontology. So as I was getting towards, a midpoint probably of my master's, I had intended to do a summer internship, and so I had started looking for one. It was, fall semester. And one of the faculty members made a comment that it really worked better into my plan to actually do that internship in the spring. And I said, where am I going to find it? It's the beginning of December. I can't get an internship. She goes, oh, I bet I can help you. The faculty member's name was Gail Strader, and her husband was Mike Strader, who was the director then of Piecemeal Nutrition Program. He was the founding director of that program. So she kind of hit him up, and he hit, I hit him up, and I ended up doing a spring internship. Kind of disappointed in a lot of ways because I thought, well, nutrition isn't my thing, and that's not the direction I'm going to go with my career. So a little disappointed in it. Turned out it was very interesting to me, and it was the direction that I was going to go. So that was in the, let's see, that would have been the summer or the spring of 1994, and 20 years later I'm still with Piecemeal. So that gives you an idea of how much of an impact even an internship outside of what you think you want can do for you. So I had an internship. I became the home delivered meal coordinator after that. So I was out in the field actually doing case management with our clients in their homes, providing nutrition education, outreach to other services, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. And later that sort of fed into an assistant director's position where I learned some grant writing, some administrative stuff. That was probably the best job I ever had in the sense that I spent a third of my time still with seniors in their homes. I spent a third of my time doing grant writing, which is a hugely important part of my job now, and then a third of my time doing those weird, boring administrative things that only people like me enjoy. I made sure fire inspections were up and health inspections were up and all those things. And the position that I had was always sort of tenuous in funding. And we knew that there was a chance that funding wasn't going to be there. So I started job hunting, and my boss was backing me on that. He was my best reference, and I went and worked for the Social Security Administration for about 6 years. During that time, I did a public affairs specialist position with them for a temporary duty. I was a claims representative, worked difficult cases, worked both disability and retirement cases, got a whole lot of experience. And then Mike Strader announced that he was retiring. And although a lot of people thought I was insane because I left this nice, comfortable, guaranteed federal job and went back to a grant program that was in the third year of its funding, I competed for that position and came back to it, and I've never looked back, and I've absolutely never regretted that decision. So that was in 2006, and I have remained with that position since then. So that's how I came to be with Piecemeal, and it's, I probably shouldn't admit this while this is being recorded for posterity, but I had 1B in college, undergrad and graduate. Take a wild guess what that was in. Nutrition. So you just never know. The things that don't seem like they're maybe where you're going in your life can definitely be that way. So always keep your mind open to the opportunities that are presented. There's one soapbox, sorry. So anyway, so Piecemeal was created back in the 70s. We've actually existed since the very early 70s, 1972. And initially this was a program out of Champaign Family Services, that served pretty much just Champaign County. It was when nutrition programs were starting, and really the focus then was just on congregate sites, bringing seniors together to have a healthy meal and some fellowship with one another. Nobody was really thinking about that long-term possibility and that long-term needs of seniors aging in place and home-delivered meals and just all the changes that would take place in our society. So at that point it was that. But all throughout the state, these programs were being created, and the Champaign County program kept getting asked, well, could you maybe take Douglas County? Or how would you feel about pulling in Piatt County? And suddenly it was getting bigger than they really wanted to. They were a Champaign County program, and that's where they wanted to keep their focus. So the dean of, at the time, the dean of the Applied Science College here was a woman named Dean Swope. And she was approached about bringing it on, and she had two things she loved. That was nutrition and seniors, and she said, we'll take it. So Eastern Illinois University wrote the grant, brought in this program for this senior nutrition program. It started out at that time, it was I think up to 12 counties. and brought this program in, and it became a part of Eastern, where it remained. That was in 1976, and it remained there until 2013, through 2013. So there was a good connection there, because we had the gerontology program, we had the nutrition program, we had the students, we had just all of these resources available, and it was a great fit. But over the course of time, the fit and the way that the university system operated started changing. And during 2000, probably starting 10, 11, 12, in there was strategic planning, and they were taking a lot of looks at the outside programs that they were working on. And Eastern had to say, is this really the best fit for us? Is this really the best fit for Piecemeal? And the decision was ultimately no. I was not part of the decision-making process. I don't want to mislead you with that, but I was aware that it was going on. This was not secretive. This was nothing that was done in a way that was disrespectful to the programs, to the seniors, to the communities. So they made this announcement late in 2012 that starting, that was going to be the last fiscal year that EIU was going to apply for these grant funds. And so I had to find a new sponsor, and Eastern worked with me to help me do that, and we approached Sarah Bush Lincoln. And that has been a tremendous journey of bringing us in, and it is very much a part of their mission, very much fits into what they're trying to do within their communities. So, starting October 1st of 2013, Piecemeal became a part of Sarah Bush Lincoln, and that's where we remain today. So it's been an interesting road as things have changed, but we keep landing exactly where we're best suited. And so that's the best part of this program, is that we've always been able to find a sponsor that really got it and knew what we needed and would help provide that for us. So here we are. And during that time, there were lots and lots of changes to nutrition programs, to Older Americans Act programs in general. Some things remain the same, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and then some things have changed a lot. I said originally it was these congregate programs. It was bringing these seniors in together and fellowship, and they had bands, they had huge parties, they were huge sites all throughout the country. It was this way. And then what happened is these individuals were aging in place. They weren't going to a nursing home, and they didn't necessarily have families that it was realistic for them to live with. They just needed a little support to remain in their home, and thus the home delivered meal funding was created. And so that's where we started seeing that we not only had these congregate programs, but we also had home delivered meal programs. Most people know that as Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is just a term. As a matter of fact, it's not even really trademarked anymore. The licensing on that is expired. We are a Meals on Wheels program, Meals on Wheels Association of America. We're involved with that as well. But that's not just what we do. The point is nutrition, not how it's actually delivered to the seniors. So now, instead of it just being that one option, it's the 2 meal programs that are involved with it. And then on top of that, we also provide nutrition education to our clients, and I'll talk to you about how we accomplish that. And then we also do what we call outreach, which is helping link seniors and their families to the other services that are needed within their communities to help them stay healthy and in their own homes. So what Piecemeal's doing is providing somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 meals every day in a 14-county area in East Central Illinois. So we go all the way up to Livingston and Iroquois counties, and then our southern region is down here with Cumberland, Clark, and Shelby counties. We kind of go across there. Over the years, it changed. It used to be more congregate, smaller amount of home delivered, and that line just keeps moving over to where now about 2/3 of our meals are home delivered and about 1/3 are congregate. So that has just shifted and shifted and shifted. So we accomplished getting those meals out to seniors by having a variety of service options that we use. We have 5 central kitchens. There's one up in Bloomington, one in Rantoul, one in Oakland, Toledo, and then here in Mattoon. So the 2 in Oakland and Toledo, those are pretty small. They're only doing maybe 100 meals a day, where the others are much larger. Those 2 little ones cover a larger geographic area, hitting some of the more scattered rural seniors, while the larger ones are doing more of that bulk. When you hit Champaign, Bloomington, even Coles County, it's more heavily populated. We find that there's some areas that we simply can't really reach with those central kitchens, not realistically, not with safe food temperatures and everything. So instead, we actually contract with local caterers. So we're actually helping to build local businesses when we contract with them. So an example is Herrick. Anybody heard of Herrick? Do we have any people? Usually there's one person that knows where Herrick is. It's over in Shelby County. It's on the far side of Shelby County, so it's really at the far edge of where we serve. And we actually have a restaurant over in Herrick that provides meals. They dip up the home delivered meals. We've got a paid and volunteer system that delivers those within that area, Herrick, Howden, that area. And then we actually have a restaurant site there where individuals can come in and actually eat at the restaurant. So that's a little non-traditional, something different that we do there. Other places we contract with maybe a nursing home. For example, in Monticello, the Piatt County Nursing Home fixes our meals and delivers those to a site. There's a senior center there, so they're delivering at bulk just like we're delivering at bulk from our kitchens, and then they're served that way. So we have central kitchens, we have caterers that provide bulk foods to sites, and then we also have restaurant programs where the seniors have a little more choice of when they're going to come in. Maybe they can come in and eat at that site, that restaurant between maybe some places it's anytime they're open, other places it's 11 to 3 or whatever, and then our traditional congregate sites that serve at a set time, usually somewhere between 11:30 and 12 every day, and individuals make reservations and come in and eat. So those are how our meals go out. The home delivered meals are dipped up at either those kitchens or at the sites, and then we have various systems that go in and pick those meals up and get them delivered to the actual seniors in their homes. And in some areas we're able to rely completely on volunteers. Other areas we have paid drivers. When you're going into Bloomington, we're sending people into areas that are more dangerous, that are more uncomfortable to send volunteers into. And so in some of those areas we have people that work a couple of hours a day delivering meals. While other places like Mattoon's a good example, that Mattoon has a very intricate set of volunteers that come in, different service organizations that take the routes for a week out of an 8-week period, and they're actually delivering, they come up with the volunteers to deliver those. So those are how the meals are getting out. Our menu planning is done by, I have actually 4 region supervisors. We're sort of split into 3 regions. There's one that's the southern region, Coles, Clark, Cumberland, Shelby, Edgar, and Moultrie counties. And then we've got one that takes Champaign, Douglas, Iroquois, and Ford counties, so kind of runs up north that way. And then the northwest side of it would be, let's see, Livingston, McLean, Piatt, and DeWitt counties. So I've got a regional supervisor that's helping keep things running in each one of those areas for me. And then I have a 4th regional supervisor whose name's such just because we never found a better name for her, but she's my region supervisor without a name, without a region. And she's the one that's working with the kitchens. So she works with the kitchens so that we can take into account client preference, are the DRIs that we follow, because all of our meals are DRI compatible, so they all are meeting that requirement over the course of a week. Any given day may not, but over the course of a week, as long as seniors are taking this in regularly, they're going to have that. So our diets, though we don't run special diets, because of the nutrition standards we follow, we're appropriate for all but the very most strict diets. Certain renal diets we find that we aren't compatible with, but for the most part we can take it in as long as people are making good food choices otherwise. So that regional supervisor works with our registered dietitian, who we have on contract, who's been with the program for, I think she's been there since '77. She's worked on and off with us full time for many years, and then she kind of flunked retirement, so she still does it on a contract basis now. But they work to make sure that they're putting together menus that will keep the different regions happy. When you cover as much geography as we do, you get into these food preferences. There's some areas that if we don't have ham and beans on the menu every single month, they act like this is abuse that needs to be reported somewhere. And then we've got other areas that if you do put it on once a month, they act like you're trying to kill them. They don't like that. They don't want that. So we work to balance that out and make sure that we're getting out the menus that are going to be most pleasing to our seniors that meet the dietary standards. But then you're also taking into account things like pans. When you leave a bulk food kitchen, they're hauling all of this food out. They're dropping it off at these sites. They drive, 100 miles by the time they do it all. So they're dropping these pans off, and those pans are staying at that site because the food's going to be dipped up and served to the seniors. So now half of your pans are out at sites, and then half of your pans are coming back into the kitchen to be washed and sterilized and ready to go for the food preparation for the next day. Those may not come back until too late, where you're needing to already start doing your prep for the next day. So it's not really half and half, it's more like a third. We've got to keep that pan rotation going. You can't have items that are so heavy on pre-prep that you can't make sure that you're going to have pans back to do it. So they're actually taking all that into consideration to make sure that we've got the adequate tools that we need to provide. The space, the counter space to actually prep things, very different. Bloomington Kitchen is this beautiful central kitchen, an institutional kitchen that's got lots of space, lots of workspace. It's like The kitchen in Oakland is just a kitchen at a little senior center. She's got one island table in the middle, and that's where she's got to make sure she can do everything. So all of those things are taken into account when you're actually doing the dietary planning for this. It's not just about the nutrients that are going into the senior. In some ways, that's the easy part. That's the part we can lay out. Yeah, we need another rich vegetable. Throw it in. That's easy. But how are you going to get that prepared now? So that kind of touches on, you know, how that food prep, how the decisions are made for that. So then looking at the services that we provide for our seniors in general, we like to say that we're more than a meal, because the meal is important. It's obviously a critical point. It's why we exist. But we also need to look at the individual as a whole. So we have that kind of holistic approach when we're looking at our seniors and saying what we can provide. So when you're looking at our home-delivered meal clients, we have home-delivered meal coordinators that go in and do an in-home assessment prior to a person starting meals. And then also at least every 6 months, you know, that's required. I would say it's very rare that there's anybody who's only seen every 6 months. I would say every 3 to 4 months is probably more it. So we go in and we make sure, do we have updated information for an emergency contact? Do we have their list of medications? We don't necessarily need that. But if emergency personnel are called in and that individual isn't capable of providing that information to emergency personnel, we want to make sure that we've got that written there, that we can let them know. What are they already on? What are they doing? What are their current health concerns? So we also do a nutrition assessment so we can find out what risk factors they have. And then from looking at those risk factors, we tailor our nutrition education with them so that we're helping them make the most of their lives that they can. I don't want to present it as if we're all dietitians. We have one, okay? We're not even nutritionists. I only have a couple of those who have some of that background. But we do have common sense, and we do have opportunities to educate ourselves. So things like hydration, we're perfectly capable of talking to seniors about hydration and the importance of hydration, especially the DRIs require a pretty high fiber diet. If you don't make sure that there's adequate hydration, you have a lot of really uncomfortable seniors after a while if they've changed this diet. So we make sure that we talk to them about hydration. We talk to them about simple meals that they can make for themselves. Although it's not ideal, if you can't stand to cook very long, a peanut butter jelly sandwich, applesauce, and a glass of milk make a pretty good evening meal. And so we can talk to them about some simple things that they can do. Seniors will find a lot of times they want to I just have soup. Their sodium content is through the roof. The grandmother, the 90-some-year-old grandmother that I mentioned, we found out she was swelling, and we found out that's what she was eating all the time was soup. Stop eating soup. You know, that canned soup is not what you can do all the time. So we talk to them about things like that. So simple nutrition education facts like that are what we're helping share with them. But the outreach component comes in where if it's over our heads, we know it's over our heads, and we help link them to the services in their community that can help them do that. Maybe it's that their caregiver seems just overwhelmed. You'll go in and do an assessment and you look at the caregiver and you think the caregiver's in worse shape than the person we're there to serve. So we can help link them to caregiver advisory committees in their community to help them get the support that they need. Refer them to the community care programs to maybe get other services brought in, housekeeping services. If that caregiver is spending all their time taking care of the home and the grocery shopping and all of those things, they're overwhelmed and they're maybe that's more possibility of careening towards elder abuse, where it's not an intent, where that person doesn't love that person, but they're just overwhelmed, and we want to help stop that. So that's the outreach component of our program. Nutrition education and outreach also is a component with our congregate sites where we have people coming in. We have to be more creative in that way. They can get up and walk out of the room. When you're in somebody's living room, they probably can't get away from you that easily. But when they're in a site, they have choices. So we need to make sure that we're presenting everything that we're presenting to them in a way that is interesting to them. That may be that we bring in public speakers. That may be that we have special events, we have parties and things to draw them in and then sneak in the nutrition education while we're doing it. We do a lot of things like that. And then we also have started doing, Sarah Bush Lincoln has an activity they call Daily Charge, and every week the PR department puts together a daily charge that all staff people at Sarah Bush Lincoln get together in little clusters, your office, and does. And it's facts about the hospital, it's healthy living tips, it's a quote, it's just various things, activities that are going on in the community, all these sorts of things. And that regional supervisor without a region came to me a while back and she said, what do you think about doing a monthly or weekly charge for our clients? beautiful plan. So now we are going through, she's going every month and planning one for each month. They go out in the packets that our site supervisors, our staff that are coordinating things at the sites, go out, and it's a nutrition education, sneaky way to get that in. It's a healthy living tip of the day. It's a quote of the day, which can always spark conversation among seniors. So again, you're upping that fellowship among them. Little things like listing off the famous birthdays for that week. So a good example in January is it was Elvis's birthday, and you're dealing with a senior client population right now, big Elvis fans. A lot of them were big Elvis fans. So she made a point of mentioning that it was Elvis's favorite birthday, or his birthday, and then said, you know, ask your seniors to list off how many Elvis songs they can remember. And it, again, gets people talking, gets them engaged, gets them involved in wanting to attend the site. And then includes a recipe for peanut butter and banana sandwiches, because apparently peanut butter and banana sandwiches are not just putting peanut butter and a banana on a sandwich, which is what I thought until she did a little digging about Elvis and found it otherwise. So including maybe some very simple recipes, things that they can just remember when they go home. So we're starting to do that as a way of sneaking in nutrition education with our clients. And the outreach can be, again, a public speaker coming in, flyers, simply including notices. We've asked our site supervisors, find out what else is going on with your community. If the Christian church is doing a chili supper that Friday, let your seniors know that that's going on. It helps engage them in their communities, gets them out of the house, gets them going with other things. So we're having those site supervisors tailor their weekly charge to their own communities so that they're getting good information out to them. I'm really excited about doing this. I think it's going over very well, and we're finding that it's just a really great way to reach our folks. So what else? Funding. Funding is tricky in Older Americans Act programs. We were created by the Older Americans Act program. We are not allowed to charge a fee for service. Now, there are Older Americans Act programs that do, so that, not to mislead you, that this is just, I'm just talking about our nutrition programs. But the decision was made when these programs were established back in the 70s that at the time it was hunger knows no boundaries. You know, the words have changed over the years, and now it would be, you know, food insecurity knows no socioeconomic boundaries. So just because I've got all the money that I need doesn't mean that I can get to the store and get the food, doesn't mean that I can stand in the kitchen long enough to cook it, doesn't mean that I have an appetite, maybe my medications have taken that away, and it doesn't mean that I don't get lonely because I'm eating alone. So we don't want to limit who we're serving to just the people that have the greatest financial need, though we target those people with our goal of increasing, you know, food security. We do believe that serving everybody regardless of their income is important. So we don't charge a fee for service, and it is not a sliding scale. We have a suggested donation of $3.50 per meal, and we ask people to donate that, but it's done on an anonymous basis, and if you don't give it, that's fine. So we get about 1/3 of the dollars that it takes to operate our program through participant contributions. We get an easy way to break it down, and then 1/3 of the monies come through those Older Americans Act dollars, and in our case, state general revenue dollars. Believe it or not, the state of Illinois has been incredibly generous. That's a bipartisan act that the state has consistently taken to help fund home delivered meals in the state of Illinois, and so we consistently get GRF dollars, general revenue fund dollars. And then 1/3 of it is coming from other places. We seek applications through United Ways, for example. Private foundations, I'm currently in the process of writing a grant with the grants manager at Sarah Bush Lincoln, writing an application to receive 2 new delivery vehicles through Retirement Research Foundation. Keep your fingers crossed, we're hoping that'll go well. So we try to bring our dollars in however we can through those, and have been able to remain viable by doing that. So kind of covers the basics. I appreciate you inviting me in to be here, and if you have questions later, I'd be happy to answer them.